Okay, so I just found this video. Weirdest NBA game ever. Warriors versus Blazers. And, yeah. Let's see what this weird game is. See what happens.
Have become a dominant force of basketball. They've set records, won championships, and amassed a slew of team and individual achievements. However, there was a time when things weren't looking so good for the franchise. In fact, the Warriors hold the record for the most seasons without a playoff appearance at 35. One of those seasons was in 2010 when the team won just 26 games. However, none of those games were as interesting as the very last. The date was April 14th, 2010. The Warriors were finishing up a rough season full of injuries and missed opportunities. They had traded players, waived players, signed players to 10-day contracts, and pulled guys up from the D-League, all in an effort to account for losses of key players. They had a somewhat bright future with rookie Steph Curry and budding star Monte Ellis, both of whom would carry the team on this fateful night.
Seriously, get out.
For their last game of the season, a road game against the Portland Trail Blazers, the Warriors had only 6 healthy players. However, in order to comply with the NBA rule stating that you must have a minimum of 8 players dressed, both Anthony Morrow and Ronny Turiaf were in uniform, although they were injured in previous games and technically could not play. The starting lineup was Steph Curry, Monte Ellis, Anthony Tolliver, Reggie Williams, and Chris Hunter. The plan was basically for them to play every minute of the game. 5 minutes and 27 seconds into the game, the plan was dashed, as starting center Chris Hunter suffered a knee injury that forced him to the bench. In came Devin George in his place. At this point, there is no room for error. There couldn't be any more injuries, no foul outs, no ejections, nothing. Playing for 48 minutes straight is tough enough, but they also had to play perfectly. Surprisingly, the game went pretty well. Curry scored 42 points, Ellis poured in 34, and with the help of a double-double from Anthony Tolliver, the Warriors had a lead with less than 5 minutes to play. And that's when the madness started. Devin George committed a foul, his 6th of the game, an automatic disqualification. The only problem was the Warriors didn't have anyone else that could play. Sure, they had 2 other players dressed, but that was only to comply with the rules. They couldn't actually play a game. Now, the rules state that if a player in the game receives his 6th personal foul and all substitutes have already been disqualified, that player will remain in the game and will be charged with a personal foul and team foul. A technical foul will also be assessed against the team. Knowing this rule, Don Nelson explained to the refs that his other 2 players could not play and asked them to let Devin George stay in the game.
See, the problem here is that Hunter has been injured in the game. What Don Nelson is saying is, I don't want to put an injured player back in. He can't play.
The referees apparently did not agree with his interpretation of this rule, forcing Nelson to put Chris Hunter, who, if you remember, had been injured in the game and could barely walk, back into the game. It didn't help that the Portland fans went hysterical when Nelson tried to protect his injured player by keeping George in the game.
Here it is. They want to do the same thing they did when Steph Curry fouled out and didn't have enough players. Right. They want Devin George to stay on the floor. That's it.
So Hunter goes back in, gimp leg and all. He Willis reads his way through about a minute of play and eventually picks up a foul trying to draw a charge. At this point, Chris Hunter simply cannot play. Devin George, the only healthy player left, can come in the game, right? Nope. No matter how much Nelson pleads, the refs won't allow George back in. At this point, the Blazers fans are livid. Apparently, they thought it was unfair that an injured player should be allowed to not play. Or maybe they were so upset by getting beat by a squad of 5 guys.
Don Nelson wants Devin George to go back in, and Eddie Rush is pointing at somebody else.
So what happens? Ronny Turiaf, who was injured in a previous game, is forced to enter the game. He plays about 15 seconds, long enough to commit a foul and submit a claim that he was injured during the game, thus allowing him to sit out and not play. But it's not over. Anthony Morrow is also dressed on the bench, although being injured. So he also has to come into the game. Morrow plays about 10 seconds, claims an injury that he already had, and goes to the bench. Now Devin George can come back in. So the Warriors have exhausted all of their players. Literally no one is on the bench since all of their healthy players are on the court, and there are 3.5 minutes left in the season. At this point, you take a loss, right? Everyone would understand. The Blazers were a 50-win team in the 6th seed. The Warriors were a lottery team hoping for the #1 pick. There's no shame in just accepting the inevitable. Well, the Warriors were not in an accepting mood that night. Over the next 3 minutes and 29 seconds, the Warriors went on a 14-6 run, with Steph Curry scoring 11 of those points. The Warriors walked away, or limped away, with a hard-fought 122-116 victory. This story shows what can happen when, even under bizarre circumstances, you keep fighting. Coach Don Nelson said of his players, they thought it was the greatest game they ever played in to do something like that. You know what? They might be right. Thank you guys so much for watching this video.
Alright, so yeah, that was pretty shocking. Sure hit that like button. I'll see y'all next time. Bye.